There may be plenty of newspapers, large or small, across the states that have been around for a century or more, but there's probably not a single one that still uses printing technology that's also 100 years old, except for down in Saguache. The Saguache Crescent operates what is almost certainly the last Linotype newspaper anywhere. Our John McMichael reports.
Printing moves on. Except the Crescent, for some reason. And there's a reason why 7,000 newspapers are not letterpress. If you know anything about letterpress, you know why. But it works for me.
What kind of news goes into the Crescent?
Well, whatever people bring me. Meetings and some opinion, yeah, obituaries, that's big, people need to know. Basically whatever people want in the paper.
I think maybe the most important question is, what is this building, these linotypes, this tons of metal type? What is all of this to you?
Well, it's just what I do. I mean, you got to be doing something.
And doing something for Dean Coombs, owner and operator of the Saguache Crescent, means putting out the newspaper each week, year after year.
Well, you know, there's a emotional connection. There's a, you know, it's a family business. I don't really like change, so you can see why the Crescent is not changed.
Still doing the old things, the old ways, Dean spends most days working with or against his Linotype. A machine, a hulking behemoth packed with whirring gears and spinning cogs on top of a ton of lead type, first roared into life in the late 1800s.
It's not the greatest newspaper in the world. I hear that and I roll my eyes and I go, no. I may not own a different newspaper, but I've seen newspapers. I've read other newspapers.
But it's become, or really has been for a long time, a historically unique paper.
I mean, this is gone. This is the last of, and it's way gone. There are linotypes, but they don't print newspapers.
Yeah.
In the world, even. That'd be silly.
Except for here, in Saguache.
A small town doesn't have a lot of things, but it has the newspaper.
Okay, let's see what we are doing here.
There's a lot of people here that still don't have computers, that still don't have internet. The only way they know something's happening or what's going on is through the Crescent.
And that's been the case since 1917, when Dean's grandparents first bought the paper and started rolling out news to the town of less than 500.
How many years for you?
I started when I was 12. I've been publishing since I was 26. The paper has to come out. It's just a requirement.
But why is that your job?
Well, it's my job because I'm the only one here. Well, it's always been my job. After my dad passed, it's his job. Up to them. And my mom's.
Now, though, and for several years, it's just Dean, filling the pages with what folks bring in, never stepping away, at least not long enough to miss a beat.
He is tied down, and I mean, it's got to be a grind to just keep going and keep going and keep going.
It would be hard for almost anybody else because it's takes so much of your time.
Yeah.
It just doesn't leave leftovers for your hobbies, and you know, and everybody has something else they want to do besides work. I'm just suited for it, and I prepared for it. And I prepared while you could still prepare for it.
And even though the tech is old, it's familiar. It's what Dean knows, and it's what works for him.
The people's need for change, which is just natural, normal. I just don't have that really. So I just go put out the next newspaper.
But time keeps rolling forward, despite this printer's best efforts.
Everything will eventually change, and we have to accept that.
And someday, down the road, change will catch up with the mechanical ruckus of the Crescent, too.
Well, we're getting lots of papers.
Do you ever have points where you think it's too much to deal with?
Not right now. I suspect that there'll be a time, there has to be a time. There'll be a time when I can't lift the forms. Well, we don't worry about that. Everybody else worries about that, but I don't.
Why don't you worry about that?
Because I've put my time in. You can't blame it on me. I have put my time in.
He really has put his time in. Dean makes it pretty clear that he's not to the point where he's considering retirement for a while yet. Even so, folks have asked plenty over the years who takes over, and we asked too, and he told us in a good-natured way he wouldn't recommend it. He described it as all-consuming, even though he himself does not feel all-consumed.